And then we got Bryan Danielson at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. And again, the people love Danielson, and rightfully so. And he did an in-ring promo, and it was a really good recap of everything that MJF has done to him. And Bryan is the rare indie darling wrestler that can actually speak with emotion. And I'm not putting him down it's not his fault who some of his fans are, but he gets speaking with some emotion, and he's a great, performer in the ring and, on the microphone, as we've said. And so this should have been bulletproof as a segment, because then MJF is coming out. And of course, at the appropriate time, his music interrupts, comes out with a serious face. Brian, tell me what you thought about MJF this week from either a promo or a wrestling logic standpoint.
I mean, I'm a big MJF fan, as I've expressed many times here on the show, and it's only because his segments end up traditionally being the very best on the show. His promos are the best. His matches, whenever we actually see him wrestle, I've liked those matches typically the best on the show, whatever pay-per-view they were on. Him and Darby, to me, is still a classic that opened the show a couple years ago. I think this entire Danielson feud has been a miss, and I think there's not just like one party to blame or anything. It's just, it hasn't worked. I don't think Danielson has worked. It worked when he was a heel. We can't keep saying that, but for the last year, I think everything with Danielson has been a miss. I don't care how many good matches he has.
They put him in the group and made him one of the boys, and he stopped speaking because Moxley can't get off the fucking microphone. And he became, instead of a premier individual, a guy in that group of people that's being shoved down our throat.
It feels like MJF, I mean, this is what, the second week in a row? Maybe, I guess second week in a row, but it's not the first time it's happened where it's gone right to like some personal story from the past. And obviously that's a big thing for wrestling promos, and it works. But he just did it like a week ago, like 2 weeks ago. It was this girlfriend in the car, and now it's this other girlfriend who broke up with him.
Well, yeah, and it also, personal stories from the past work when they can be applicable to the situation at hand.
Well, that's the other thing. It's kind of like I have this, it seemed like it was like I have this thing I could say out here. How am I going to tie it to Danielson? And Danielson's not going to give me much help, which is what it seemed like. Because at one point, I mean, not to spoil anything because you're going to keep reviewing it, but at one point, what I said before, the idle threat, he says, if you say anything, I'm going to kick your ass, or whatever he said. I'm going to stomp your face in. And then MJF just kept talking, and Danielson stood there and let him walk casually in the ring.
Yes, he did the exact thing that Danielson told him not to do for a while. But okay, let's back up here. Because here's the thing with the MJF promo, couple of issues that I have. Number one, he is so mad at Danielson that it's like Danielson owns him, lives rent-free in his head, as the kids like to say. He's too mad. He should be, in a lot of cases, the same material, but just from a standpoint of the cocky heel motherfucker that's trying to get into this fucking... He looks at Danielson like a fucking nerd wrestling mark kind of guy with a happy family and loves to work and wrestle for the fans and all that stuff. MJF, again, is in a position where he's the fucking 20-something-year-old making tons of money with the belt. He's dressed great. He ought to be getting in these other guys' heads and talking about
they need to be mad Danielson's.
Yes, to get the babyface mad at him, then you can show some weakness Danielson can bring out. It's because he's insecure, but MJF shouldn't be out there having a meltdown. And he definitely shouldn't be saying, well, I've been thrown away like trash by anyone who's ever loved me. I met a girl who convinced me that every human being wasn't bad, and I proposed. I got down on my knees. I said, I want to spend my life with you and to give me my children. And then she left me. And they start chanting, you deserve it.
Do you see Danielson's face while he's saying all this? He's
yes, but I think he was gobsmacked. But the thing is that MJF was taking heat off himself by giving the people something to laugh at him. You deserve it. Yeah, fuck you. I'd have dumped you too. Ha ha ha. They're not getting mad at him when they're laughing about something bad that happened to him. Except they wouldn't have known that bad thing happened to him unless he told them. It's like he invited one of the baby faces to come out and beat him up right in front of those people while he's trying to be the hot heel world champion. He should be talking about the amount and quality and variety of pussy that he's getting, while Danielson, the fucking nerd, the wrestling mark, is stuck at home with a wife that probably tells him what to do because she's a bigger fucking star, and he's probably changing the diapers on that little fucking crumb snatching rugrat they've got running around, while I'm fucking everything from 8 to 80, blind, crippled, or crazy. If they can't walk, I'll drag them. And I'm making all the money, and I'm on network television, and you, Danielson, are just a fucking soon-to-be, again, retired house husband.
I have no weaknesses. By the way, kryptonite. Yeah, that's what this was.
Yes.
I agree with you about playing up the rich thing. Tony should go license the fucking, remember the old poster, Poverty Sucks? Fucking do that.
Yes.
Give it to MJF. Play up that shit. Like you said, you don't have to be Ric Flair, but Buddy Rogers wasn't Ric Flair. It's a certain type of thing to give off. It wasn't, I don't want to hear about MJ's emotions for a while. I really don't. I want him to piss other people off, and they want to get to him, not he's really upset.
And then when somebody does get something over on MJF, the top heel champion, going into the pay-per-view, that's when he gets mad and loses his composure, when he's humiliated or embarrassed in some fashion, or something that means a lot. His brand new Burberry fucking suit or whatever is had a bucket of yellow paint turned up on it or whatever. He gets mad at the opponent that does it to him. He doesn't give the fans a freebie and announce that an ex-girlfriend took heat off of him, and we didn't even have to pay to fucking see it. And then, again, his promo, he started out so mad and so violently angry. And your wife and kids, I hate you because you've had more head trauma than anybody, and you're still in my sport. At least he said sport this week instead of business. But I didn't, he was saying that wrestling was more important to Danielson than his family. And, that was somehow an insult to MJF, and he's got to get the knock on Regal in. Worthless, drug-addicted mentor William Regal, you're worse. It went on long. It was the wrong, I thought, temperament for him to have. And again, he should be saying, I've got everything, and I'm going to deny you what you want most. And maybe even more than your wife and kids, because you're a wrestling nerd and a mark for yourself, whatever. But that's where the Danielson came up, because he said, I'm going to speak now directly, Bryan Danielson, to your kids. And Bryan says, if you do, I'll kick the shit out of you. And everybody pops. And then MJF is on the floor, but right outside the ring, and he turns and talks to the floor camera and talks directly to the kids.
While Danielson watches.
While Danielson watched, and and he said, kids, I'm going to make sure Dada can't play with you again, can't pick you up again. And then finally, MJF works his way into the ring and says he's going to give Danielson, the ultimate gift, early onset CT, boom, and Danielson nails him. But I'm surprised. MJF is going to ruin his voice if he keeps doing this. And I don't know whether he's feeling like the burden is on him and this company to get the only serious heat, try to sell a pay-per-view, and he's trying too hard or whatever, but he's got to pull some of it back for when it means something. Because like you said, again, the Danielson thing, this would have meant so much more as Bryan Danielson was coming off that hot single run a year and a half ago instead of being buried in a group of
And it's not really working well. So why pour more stuff in? Like, Why not just run him over with a truck next week? It wouldn't matter. It's just not working really well, I don't think, this thing.
But now I will give them this, Ben. Hold that thought. Then when they had the fight, the pull apart and the break looses, and the fans going nuts and the security hitting, that was the first really, really good part of this whole program.
Why is it a 1 hour match?
Well, therein lies another problem. Because again, mark booking is we're going to have these two guys wrestle each other. And what kind of cool stipulation can we put on it? Have they ever had a match to this point yet?
I'm not remembering one, but I don't know. I actually don't know.
Well, just the fact that we can't. Mark books, here I've got these two guys that are going to go for the title. What kind of cool stipulation can we put on it that will make all the other people who live on message boards and fantasy book along with me think would be great? And they just jump to that. They haven't had them. Why is it an hour? Because they gave a reason, because MJF wanted to prove he's the best, not Danielson or whatever the fuck, but it doesn't. That's their mark reason. Bookers would say, okay, these are two of not only my top names, but also my most dependable guys, because Danielson is rarely, a headache or a problem for anybody, doesn't miss matches, doesn't get injured that much, thankfully. And MJF, except when he was going through his contract situation with Tony, always produces in his matches, doesn't no-show anything, so these are two of my top performers, and especially MJF, I hope to have him for a while. So I'll figure out a way that we can get 2 or 3 major matches out of a program between them. First on pay-per-view, because it's first time ever, got to pay to see it. Second time, we might do it in a few months on television with a disputed finish to lead to another pay-per-view rematch blow-off, which might very well be a 60-minute Iron Man match, marathon match, whatever they're calling it these days, because that way they could have set up some reason. MJF fucks him and retains in the first one. They get the rematch on TV finally after months of negotiations, and then they do the screwy goddamn dusty finish or whatever the fuck. I'm not talking about throwing the referee over the top rope, but some type of finish where, because it's free television, nobody can claim they were cheated out of their money. Some kind of screwy finish where both guys claim that they won. And obviously you don't switch the title. So in the end, somehow the decision goes to MJF, but that opens up Danielson to be allowed a rematch and pick his fucking perfect stipulation of how he can't be denied or fucked around, which, since he's the greatest in-ring technical mat wrestler, whatever the fuck in the world, there's no way that MJF can beat me more than once or multiple times in the same night, and he can't outlast me, so we'll have a 1 hour match, most falls in an hour. That's my ultimate match and his true test, and then you switch the fucking belt if you want to, because you've gotten almost a year out of that shit. But
how much time did you spend thinking about that before you just booked that out?
Since you brought it up 45 seconds ago or whatever it was, because that's not even difficult. Details in that would be more difficult, but the fucking outline is not that difficult.